A cold wind sweeps through a forgotten graveyard. Mist curls over broken tombstones as if hiding secrets too dark to see. Shadows shift between the trees, and the faint sound of footsteps crunching on dead leaves breaks the silence. The camera glides past graves marked by time, some cracked and leaning, others barely legible under moss. In the distance, a single lantern flickers, moving slowly through the fog. The screen goes black for a brief moment, and a whisper cuts through the silence. Some truths refuse to stay buried. This is not just a story about loss. It's a story about a discovery that will shake everything Henry thought he knew. Every corner, every shadow holds a secret. And tonight, one of those secrets will be uncovered. Asterisk, the camera follows a figure moving cautiously through the misty graveyard. It's Henry, though his face is never fully shown. Only his hands clutch. A lantern casting weak light over the wet, uneven ground. Each step he takes presses into the mud, leaving temporary footprints behind. The fog thickens, wrapping around tombstones like ghostly fingers, making it hard to see what lies ahead. Old weathered trees sway in the wind, creaking and groaning, their shadows dancing across the ground. Henry pauses near a particularly old grave. The lantern light trembles as he reaches out, brushing his fingers over the cracked stone. Letters etched decades ago are barely readable, but one word stands out: Claire. A sudden gust of wind shakes the lantern, causing the light to flicker and cast long, eerie shadows across the ground. The camera cuts to close-ups of Henry's hands moving over the dirt, gathering leaves and debris as if searching for something hidden beneath. Dirt slips through his fingers, small stones rattling softly, emphasizing the quiet tension. In the background, a crow caws, breaking the silence, as if warning him to stop. The scene then shows a close-up of a rusty spade leaning against a nearby tombstone, hinting that this grave might have been disturbed before. Henry's hand hovers over the tool, hesitating. There is a palpable sense that whatever lies beneath, the soil will change everything. The tension builds as the camera alternates between Henry's hands. The lantern light revealing patches of disturbed earth and glimpses of the surrounding graveyard shrouded in mist. In this faceless narrative, objects tell the story. The soil, the spade, small leather-bound locket glinting faintly in the lantern's light. The audience can feel Henry's growing apprehension without needing to see his expression. Every sound is amplified: the crunch of leaves underfoot, the rustle of wind through branches, the soft drip of water from a cracked gravestone. The environment becomes a character itself, echoing the unease that Henry feels. Finally, Henry kneels beside the grave, his hands brushing over the damp soil. The camera moves in closer, showing a faint indentation in the dirt, almost like a footprint or a recent disturbance. He pauses, holding the lantern closer, revealing a partially buried eye tamp, perhaps a piece of jewelry, a lock of hair, or a folded note worn with age. The scene ends with the lantern swinging slightly, shadows flickering wildly across the ground, and a soft whisper almost too faint to hear: "Henry, you shouldn't be here." The air feels heavier, the stakes clearer. Something crucial lies beneath, waiting to be uncovered. And the audience is left hanging, breathless, wondering what Henry will find next. Asterisk, the mist clings tighter to the graveyard, curling around the cracked stones like tendrils reaching from the past. As Henry kneels beside the earth, the camera shifts too small, telling details. A silver locket, half buried in the mud, its chain tangled and tarnished. A faded photograph, edges curled and water-stained, showing to people from long ago, Claire. And someone Henry clearly cared for. The lantern's weak glow flickers across these items, casting distorted shadows that dance across the ground as if memories themselves are trying to rise from the soil. The wind whispers through the branches, carrying soft echoes, fragments of laughter, a sigh, and faint, indistinct voices. Like the graveyard itself remembers what has been lost. Henry's hands hover over the locket, hesitating. He picks it up, carefully brushing the dirt away, revealing a small engraving, Claire's initials. The camera zooms in on this tiny detail, giving weight to the object as if it's a key to the past. Around him, the graveyard seems to come alive in shadows. Gravestones that lean unnaturally, long-forgotten flowers rustling as if moved by invisible hands, and the faint outline of a path that appears and disappears in the fog. Every sound branches snapping, distant dripping water, and the creak of a leaning wooden fence builds a sense of unease. The audience feels Henry's uneasiness, the anticipation, without ever seeing his expression. Suddenly, the scene cuts to fleeting glimpses of faceless silhouettes in dim light. A figure placing a candle on a gravestone, a hand opening a weathered diary, a shadow crossing a doorway. These flashes are quick, dreamlike, and slightly disorienting, suggesting that Henry is not only uncovering a grave but also walking through layers of memory and mystery. Objects tell the story: the diary, the candle, the photograph. Each one hints at secrets, betrayals, and heartbreak tied to Claire's past. The camera returns to Henry, kneeling, holding the locket. And the wind carries a whisper so soft it almost blends with the fog. "Remember me?" As he places the locket gently on the disturbed earth, the lantern swings again, illuminating a faint pattern in the soil, a circle of small stones, arranged carefully, as if marking something hidden. The shadows twist and stretch unnaturally, giving the impression that the graveyard itself is alive, observing, warning, and mourning. The camera lingers on this haunting scene: Henry's hands, the locket, the pattern of stones, and the flickering lantern light leaving the audience with a chilling realization this is more than a grave. It is a doorway to secrets that have been buried too long, and every object he uncovers whispers of Claire's story in fragments. Incomplete but charged with emotion, the scene ends with a slow pan upward. The fog rolls across the graveyard like a moving sea, and for a moment, the wind carries the faint sound of a familiar voice calling Claire's name. A flash of lightning illuminates the horizon, briefly revealing the outline of a distant figure watching from the tree line. The suspense deepens, signaling that Henry's discovery is just the beginning. The audience is left on edge, emotionally, connected to the objects and desperate to see what happens next as shadows and memories converge in this chilling, faceless exploration of the past. The fog thickens as night deepens, swallowing the graveyard in a cold, suffocating silence. Henry's lantern sways with each step, casting trembling light across wet gravestones and gnarled tree roots. Every shadow seems to move, every shape in the darkness hinting at secrets waiting to be discovered. The camera focuses on small details: a cracked, blood-stained diary lying on a tombstone, its pages fluttering as if disturbed by unseen hands. A leather-bound map pinned to the earth with a rusty knife, and a single broken shoe half buried in the mud. Each object tells a fragment of a story that Henry can almost feel but cannot fully see. Henry kneels to examine the diary. His fingers brush over the faded ink, smudged with age and moisture. Words appear: "Do not trust." The blood runs deeper than the grave. The camera closes in on the letters, lingering long enough for the audience to feel the weight of the warning. The wind carries a low, almost inaudible whisper, as if the dead themselves are speaking, warning him to stop. The sound of distant footsteps crunching over leaves causes the camera to dart toward the tree line, but nothing is visible, only mist and shadow. The tension grows with every heartbeat, making it clear that Henry is not alone. Objects become the language of the story. Henry uncovers a small vial, dark liquid still clinging to its sides, tucked under the edge of a gravestone. The camera pans to a jagged tree branch above, shadows resembling claws reaching downward. A torn piece of paper flutters into the mud, revealing a partial symbol, a mark that suggests danger, betrayal, and secrets hidden in plain sight. Each discovery adds another layer of mystery, another question the audience cannot ignore. Who left these items? What happened here? And why is Henry the only one brave enough to dig deeper? Suddenly, the scene shifts to rapid, disorienting cuts. A candle sputtering out. Oh. A shadow crossing a broken window. A hand clutching the edge of a coffin. And the faint reflection of Henry's lantern in a pool of water, trembling with every small movement. The camera circles him slowly, showing only his hands, the lantern, and glimpses of the disturbed grave, keeping his identity faceless while heightening suspense. The wind rises to a howl, carrying whispers of past events fragments, of voices, laughter, and cries blending into one haunting soundscape. Henry's movements quicken, urgency creeping into his gestures as the environment seems to tighten around him. Every shadow a possible threat. The climax of this section comes when Henry uncovers another clue hidden beneath a loose stone. A small, blood-stained key. The lantern's light trembles as he holds it up, revealing the intricate design and a faint engraving that seems familiar. A sudden crack of lightning illuminates the entire graveyard, revealing a distant figure disappearing into the mist. Audience feels the tension, pique the knowledge that someone else is here, someone connected to Claire, someone who might be watching Henry. The storm reaches its peak. Rain hammers the graveyard, turning mud to a slippery, dark canvas. Lightning splits the sky, casting stark, fleeting light over gravestones that seem to shiver under the downpour. Henry's lantern swings violently, in his hand throwing jagged shadows that stretch and twist across the earth like hands clawing from the past. He kneels at a recently disturbed grave, the soil dark and glistening with water. His fingers brush over the loose earth, uncovering fragments of what once belonged to someone cherished: a delicate scarf, soaked and torn, a gold locket glinting, faintly even under the storm's dim light. The camera closes in on the gravestone, half buried and cracked. Through the swinging lantern's glow, the letters emerge slowly, like a secret revealing itself. CLAIRE. The audience doesn't need a face to feel the weight of this moment. Every object, every shadow, every sound carries it. Thunder rumbles, echoing like a heartbeat across the cemetery. As Henry's hands tremble slightly while he places the locket atop the grave, the camera lingers on the locket, the dirt around it, and the faint indent of another object, a handprint. Almost as if someone else had been there, adding to the growing tension in the background. The wind whips violently through the trees, carrying whispers and fragments of voices. Claire, why? The camera cuts to a close-up of Henry's hands pressing down into the mud, leaving marks in the soil that seem almost ritualistic, symbolic of his connection to Claire. Raindrops patter against the gravestone, dripping slowly onto the locket, creating a rhythmic sound that mixes with the rising orchestral tension. The atmosphere is alive, charged with grief, mystery, and a hint of foreboding danger. Every small movement of Henry's hands, every flicker of the lantern, every trembling shadow tells the story of loss, desperation, and revelation without a single word spoken aloud. Suddenly, the camera pans slowly around the graveyard. In the distance, barely visible through the storm and fog, a shadowy figure retreats behind a tree line. A faint glimmer of something metallic in their hand hints at danger, leaving the audience to wonder, is Henry safe? Has someone been watching all along? Back at the grave, Henry picks up a small, half-buried note, water-stained and faded. A single line is legible. The blood of the past never dies. The camera focuses on this line, letting it sink in with the audience as lightning illuminates the graveyard in stark, cinematic bursts. The section closes with Henry standing slowly, holding the locket above the grave as the lantern flickers violently. Rain soaks the earth, the wind howls like a living presence, and the shadows stretch unnaturally across the graveyard, hinting that the discovery is just the beginning. The screen fades momentarily to black, leaving the audience with a haunting thought: Henry has found Claire's grave, But the truth buried with her may be far more dangerous than anyone could imagine. A whisper cuts through the silence. Some doors should never be opened. Asterisk, the storm begins to subside, leaving the graveyard dripping and glistening under the first pale light of dawn. Mist curls along the ground like restless spirits, and every gravestone appears taller, darker, more menacing. Henry stands alone, the lantern in his hand now dim, flickering like a heartbeat in the quiet aftermath of the storm. The locket in his other hand gleams faintly, its surface catching what little light remains, reminding the audience that Claire's presence still lingers even in death. The wind whispers faintly, carrying fragments of old voices, laughter, and a single chilling plea: find the rest before it's too late. The camera cuts to rapid, disorienting flashes, a broken window rattling in the distance, a hand clutching an old blood-stained key, footprints leading toward the trees, a journal page torn in half fluttering across the mud. Each shot lasts just a heartbeat, leaving viewers on edge. Shadows stretch unnaturally, creating the feeling that someone or something is still watching. The soundscape is layered. Low rumbling thunder, the soft drip of water from moss-covered stones, and the faint echo of a bell tolling somewhere unseen. These tiny details make the graveyard feel alive, almost sentient, as if the secrets it holds are waiting for Henry and the audience to uncover them. Henry kneels once more at Claire's grave. His hands linger on the soil, brushing aside leaves and debris to reveal a small, hidden symbol carved into the stonemark, only partially visible, suggesting that someone left a warning before disappearing into the mist. The camera hovers over the symbol, then pans up slowly to the graveyard, showing the silhouettes of trees bending in the wind. The distant sound of footsteps crunching in the fog signals that Henry is not alone, raising the stakes. The audience feels that the story is far from over. This is not just about a grave, but a hidden web of secrets, danger, and betrayal waiting to unravel. As the trailer reaches its final moments, the camera cuts to the lantern swinging violently in the dark, casting long, erratic shadows across the gravestones. A final whisper breaks through. Some blood calls for vengeance. Lightning flashes briefly, illuminating a distant figure watching from the tree line, leaving only a shadow behind. Text overlays appear. Blood of my blood season. 2 inches followed by coming soon. The sound cuts abruptly to silence, leaving the faint echo of wind and the dripping rain to hang over the scene. The last shot lingers on Claire's locket, resting on the disturbed soil, a single raindrop falling across it. A subtle, haunting reminder that the story is far from over, and the truth Henry has uncovered may awaken forces he cannot control. The trailer fades to black, leaving only the streaming platform logo and social media handles subtly glowing in the darkness. The audience is left with a lingering sense of dread, curiosity, and anticipation, knowing that Season 2 promises danger, heartbreak, and secrets that run deeper than the grave itself. Asterisk, the rain has stopped, but the graveyard remains shrouded in fog, silent and heavy with secrets. Henry stands motionless, lantern in hand, its dim light barely cutting through the mist. His shadow stretches long across the damp ground, merging with the twisted shapes of tombstones, creating the impression that the graveyard itself is alive and watching. Around him, objects from the story: Claire's locket, a half-buried diary, a blood-stained key are scattered, glowing faintly under the lantern's flicker. They seem to pulse with memory, as if holding the last echoes of the past. The camera pans slowly upward to the tree line, where shadows shift unnaturally. A figure, just a dark silhouette, lingers between the trees, watching. The audience can't see the face, but the presence feels threatening, hinting that Henry's discoveries have stirred forces far beyond his understanding. A low hum rises in the background, merging with faint whispers that carry across the graveyard. The truth is only the beginning. Each sound, each shadow, reinforces that danger and mystery are not just behind him, they are surrounding him, closing in. Objects take center stage for the final tease. The camera glides across the scattered locket, the diary, and the key lingering on the faint carvings and stains, each telling a fragment of the story. The wind rustles a loose page, flipping it to reveal a cryptic note. Everything comes at a cost. Lightning flashes once more, illuminating the distant silhouette for a heartbeat before the fog swallows it again. The tension is palpable, leaving viewers with a sense of dread, curiosity, and the unspoken promise that nothing is truly safe, and that Henry's journey has only begun. The graveyard is silent now, the storm gone, but leaving everything soaked and glistening under a pale gray dawn. Henry's lantern flickers weakly, casting long, trembling shadows across the graves. He kneels once more beside Claire's grave, placing the locket gently on the damp soil. For a moment, everything feels still, almost sacred, until a subtle movement in the fog catches the eye. A shadow shifts at the edge of the tree line, just beyond the lantern's light. The audience cannot see who or what it is, but its presence is undeniable. A chilling reminder that Henry's discovery has awakened forces he cannot yet face. The camera glides close to the locket, lingering on its delicate chain as raindrops drip slowly onto it, echoing like faint, ghostly heartbeats. Nearby, the partially buried diary shifts, revealing another cryptic line. Some blood demands a reckoning. The wind rises again, carrying faint, fractured whispers. It's not over. Will never be over. The fog swirls unnaturally, and distant crows take flight, their wings cutting through the mist in sharp silhouettes. The tension is palpable. The graveyard, once silent, now seems alive, watching Henry, watching the audience. Suddenly, a flash of lightning illuminates the distant figure again, showing just enough detail to hint at danger. A glint of metal in their hand, the faint outline of a cloak fluttering in the wind but still keeping the identity hidden. Henry remains, kneeling, unaware of the presence, his hands resting on the soil. The camera slowly pulls back, revealing the graveyard stretching endlessly in fog and shadows. Every object, Claire's locket, the diary, the blood-stained key, appears more ominous, as if marking the path to secrets that have been buried far too long.